Hi, this is Takashina from Jazz Love Japan. Today I just want to feature, very unique reissue by the Venus Records Japan. And I already talked about the Venus Records, many times. And Venus Records, basically, they release the original, albums. Yeah, most of them. Very few reissues that they do. But this is one of them, which I think is very unique. Tetsuo Hara is the owner of the company and the label, and he's a very, skillful sound engineer that I think in most of the albums that they release, he's the one doing the mastering, you know, and the cutting and the pressing are done at Toyo Kasei. That's the their success formula. And as I talked about the greatness of the Venus Records in the past videos, the sound quality is very good. But what about the reissues like the one I want to share with you today? The album that I want to share with you is this. Yes, I don't know whether you know this album. If you know, you must be a deep jazz collector for sure. Yeah, this is the, Sonny Rollins Plays. That's the title, and this is a very unique album. Actually, originally released on a very minor jazz label called Period. Yeah, Period label. And if you look at the session on side one and the session on side two are completely different sessions, compiled together. So maybe I should say that this is a compilation album, but it wasn't sold like the compilation album. It's like Sonny Rollins lead album. But if you look at the side two, side B, it's a session by the Thad Jones, not Sonny Rollins. Sonny Rollins is not there. Yeah, but amazingly, the both sessions on side one, Sonny Rollins, and side two, Thad Jones, just fantastic. And I love this album very much. But I don't think many jazz collectors outside of Japan know this album because it's minor. But here in Japan, somehow this album has been talked about among the jazz collectors and reissued, I think, several times. First, I think Nippon Columbia Japan reissued it in the 70s. I think twice. Yeah, 70s twice, and this is the Venus Record reissue in the 90s. Yeah, and I love this reissue by the Venus Record, and among the reissues available here in Japan, I think this Venus Record reissue is the most difficult for you to get. Yeah, on the market right now. Yeah, and the this reissue by the Venus Record is superb. In some ways. First, as I said, the owner, the Tetsuo Hara himself, remastered it. Yeah, he used the original monomaster and remastered this one, and the pressing and the cutting were done at the Toyo Kasei. So to compare the available reissues here in Japan, I think this is, I think, the best sound quality reissue of this album. I think, yeah, I believe so. And second is that they use the original, period label design. Yeah, this one. Yeah, and the Nippon Columbia Japan, first in the early 70s, they didn't use the, this period label design, but in the late 70s, they used this one. I mean the Nippon Columbia Japan. Yeah, so Nippon Columbia Japan in the late 70s reissue and this Venus reissue, the two only available reissues using the original label design of the period, yeah, which I love, and okay, talking about the session itself, the Sonny Rollins session on side 1 was recorded in the mid 50s. I think in 1956, I guess. Sorry, 1957. Yes, and it's funny that this session in 1957 was recorded just one day after the legendary session, live session at the Village Vanguard, on the Blue Note. You know that, the legendary album, right, of Sonny Rollins, So just after one day in New York, the same New York, this session was recorded. The members present on the session by the Sonny Rollins on side 1 is that Sonny Rollins on tenor saxophone and Jimmy Cleveland on the trombone and Gil Collins on piano and Wendell Marshall on bass and Kenny Dennis on drums. Those are members present. And the side 2 is the Thad Jones. Thad Jones session was recorded in 1956. Yes, and at that time, Thad Jones, I think that belonged to the band of the Count Basie. So the members present here in this session on side 2, mainly from the Count Basie band members. Thad Jones on trumpet and Frank Foster on tenor saxophone and Jimmy Jones on piano and Doug Watkins on bass and Joe Jones on drums. Right? Yeah, and there's some others, present as well. But anyway, those are the main members present in this session on side 2. Yeah, and the both sessions, side 1 and side 2, are just fantastic, And the side 2 session, the Thad Jones session, was taken from the album on the period called the Mad Thad. Yeah, Mad Thad. The same session. So they just put the left out tracks from the same session of the Mad Thad album on period. Yeah, that's what they did, I think, And amazingly, both sessions, the recording conditions are just fantastic, The sound quality basically is just fantastic. Of course, the remastering of Tetsuo Hara and cutting and pressing Toyo Kasei make also this superb sound quality that I said, but the original recording condition must be very, very good, Yeah, so I love this album, and the album is very unique. But there is a myth about this album, There isn't much information available except the one I shared with you right now. Yeah, but anyway, it's a great, modern jazz hard bop album that you need to look into. So in case you don't know this album, yeah, it's better for you to dig that too. Yeah, that's it for today. I hope you like it. Lastly, I always say, continue staying safe, healthy, and be connected with the music we love, jazz. Thank you for watching today, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.